Happy Friday. Starting a little later today because I had the morning sleepies. Oh my goodness. You get up and you're just like, no. That was me this morning. Still recovering. Still recovering. Allergies are whew as well. Oh, I forgot to take my allergy medicine. I keep switching whether I'm going to take it when I wake up or when I go to bed. And it's fine. I'll wait a couple hours. It's fine. I won't just sneeze like every 3 minutes and keep rubbing my nose. We are doing development today. These are some level attributes about every level in Switchball Deluxe. And yesterday, we did some Switchball development. We were working on resaving levels in the game. And we needed to resave levels because we need to change the order of which the levels are ordered. And we learned yesterday that in the game it encrypts levels when you resave levels, and that we were modifying different methods in the console maker to do so. Now there were some bugs that were really throwing wrenches in it, but by the end of the day we fixed what I messed up. And I kind of have now duplicates of all 160 levels, so I got 320 of them out there. So now I have a decent method, I think, that I'll probably do off stream of reordering all the levels, so that there's a natural progression of complexity and mechanics and challenge and all that. So that's all Gucci. Today, the feature we're going to try to tackle is creating an image icon for each level. And to show that, where that's going to go, let's boot up the game. All right. So when you go to the adventure menu here, you have this box that's always been here and empty. Now we also have this box right here. So one of the things to remember about the UI here is that it's going to also be for mobile, and I don't really want to change the UI for mobile. I'm trying to make it work for both Steam and mobile. That's why you got big old buttons, which you can tap as well as be able to move around. So like on mobile, there might not be arrows, right? It might just be you click a button. This will be a back button for mobile that we need to put in. So there's a way to go back, and there's some other navigation you probably need in mobile buttons that's not on the screen. So for example, when you're in a level like this, it says press A to start, B to hide. There might need to be something where you're pressing this to start and you're pressing this area to hide. Stuff like that. But you know where my face is, we have this arrow. I'm just going to hide myself for a second. Zoop. So on mobile, you're going to be pressing this left, right on the controls, pressing around here to do turbo. This flips. So you have this big space on the left and big space on the right in order to hold either a phone or a tablet, or the actions in the middle. Now some of the UI will get updated, like this at the top might get updated. Some of these things might get changed in terms of their design, but generally the spacing is going to stay the same. So let's go back to the menu, and I'll just show myself again. So this spot right here is a spot where I want to show a snapshot of the level. So if I go to this level, I might remember that this is breakthrough, but I might not remember what breakthrough is if I've played it, nor if it's the very first time I'm playing it. I could see just a little peek at what's coming. Now this is a very small area, but the dimensions of it are a smaller version of the dimensions of this big one. So all I want to do is, if I turn that off, I just want to take a snapshot of this area without the player showing. And we also probably don't want the background showing either. We want it just like this. Now, you want no background, no player, and you just want what's right here. Essentially what blocks or hazards or anything else. So like, for example, if we go to a layer world where we have multiple things going on, especially say like an extreme example like a mega, like say something like this, there's a whole lot here. And we want to hide whatever background there is, because these backgrounds might change. Actually, they're definitely going to change. These are temporary ones that I found. We just want all of these elements as a snapshot, so we could shrink it down and show it on the menu. So how are we going to do that? What is the best way for us to shrink it down and put it here? And once we shrink it down, we might need to change the size of this a little bit, and it might need a little bit bigger. Well, this is my first idea. If we go into a level, say we go back into here, we could have another button that I could press, like an admin button, secret button for admin, that when I press it, it immediately hides this background and it hides the player. Alternatively, if I wanted to be really jank and not have any functionality, I could just go in the code and temporarily hide these objects. I could hide the player and I could hide the background, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I also probably, you see there's an opacity here as well. So even this whole container, these pipes that are basically have always been the encapsulation of the playfield, which, by the way, I just created this. It doesn't really make sense that they're pipes. I guess they're all like factories, so it's not like the worst art in the world to make sense, but it could be different for each world. There could be more style. We really just want the blocks and the orientation of them, because when we go back to the menu, you see that this already has an opacity. So we don't want to do like opacity on opacity. We just want to be able to show what the blocks look like here. So it'll just show the icons of where all the blocks are located. So that's one. We want to be able to hide different things that are on screen, including the background, perhaps even this whole grid and everything. So a lot that we want to hide. That's part one. Part two is, how do we actually take a snapshot of what's showing here on the screen? There's two real ways to do that. One, you could do it in code, which would be quite challenging because I don't have anything in there. You know, we could try to AI it, ask the AI, how do I in C# do a thing where I can do all this? Because essentially all of these are objects that are showing on the camera and at certain positions, and they have certain positions here. I don't really want to change that. I don't want to have to shrink that all down and do a lot of magic. This is sort of a one-time thing. Now, granted, if we don't have something dynamic and the levels change, which they will, there's going to be player testing, then we'll have to retake certain screenshots and certain things, but I'm fine with that. I think what I'm going to do then is once I hide all this stuff, we can just take screenshots. And I think that's going to be the best thing. You're just going to take 160 screenshots of what is here in this area. And you always want to have the exact same dimensions, the exact same position. And one of the tools that I use all the time outside the game, at work, and everywhere is a tool called Snagit, which is a screenshot tool. And in taking screenshots, you can specify where on screen the screenshot ought to start and the dimensions of it. So if I set Snagit to always look, say, somewhere in this top left corner, which I guess my mouse, there is my mouse. If I have a screenshot that starts there and goes to the bottom, I can get this whole area. So it's going to be part one is either creating a button to hide everything or just hiding it. And part two is setting up screenshots so I can just go through every single level and have screenshots. Now those screenshots are going to be way, way bigger than what can fit here in this little area. So then part three, after taking the screenshots, is going to be putting them into our sprite sheet. And then you're going to be rendering those screenshots in the sprite sheet to this area. So we could shrink them down if we want to have a smaller sprite sheet, which we probably will, because they'll be pretty big screenshots. And then when we render it, we'll render it to this location. So there's a few different steps, but that's kind of the plan. Now, one of the things that also needs to be done is that when you hover over any one of these, that needs to change. Just like you can see, again, I'm going to hide my face. What are the things that change? Well, the name of the level changes, the name of the world changes. But level to level, you have the title of the level, your best time, and the best rank, which is calculated on the fly. And we're going to need now also an image for the level, which is the icon of the level. It essentially says, hey, here's a snapshot. And that snapshot is going to need to know where to look in the sprite sheet in order to generate it. So we might create a brand new sprite sheet just for these icons. Similarly, we created a sprite sheet for, I think I had to duplicate a sprite sheet for our explosions because they were so big. So either we'll add all these icons to a new sprite sheet or we'll add it to an existing sprite sheet. And we'll have to map it in code so that each one of these level attributes has an image. And that's what I was showing when the stream started, was right here in level attributes, which is, where's level attributes? Constants, the top. Here we have attributes of a level, including the ID, the name, these ranks. We're going to need a sprite that we can render. This sprite is probably going to be part of the constants class and make it easy peasy so that when it reads in these constants, it can just say, hey, whatever level it is, orange box or exit or whatever, it can just say its sprite is X. Now what it might need to do, here we're doing like setting up constants like time span from seconds. Here when we're setting up these constants, we need to instantiate and populate the sprite in some way. So we're probably going to have a method that knows, hey, for level 13, this is where the sprite is located. So in talking through these things, there's multiple steps. There's creating the sprites, hiding stuff on screen to take the screenshots for those sprites, putting them on a sprite sheet in a reasonable order, and then coding, adding to the level attributes and the constants, those sprites, and then rendering it on screen and showing that icon whenever you move. We're not going to get that all done in the next hour. But I want to talk through it because that's what we're going to be doing. So first thing is let's go ahead and hide stuff on screen. So we're going to go back to the game here. And we'll just go to any old level. Oh, not propulsion. So what are the things we want to hide? We want to hide the background, the player, because I don't think we need the player. Like the player always starts here. We don't need that in every single screenshot. The background, this background of the pipe and the opacity. So it's 1, 2, 3 that we want to hide. So we're going to go to Visual Studio. And we're just going to pause the game because these are sorts of updates that we can just immediately continue and restart the game when they're in. So a couple of these things render in the hood. So we're going to go to our hood class and see where these guys are at. So I think we're just going to go to the top of our draw method. This is right here. This method is gigantic. There's a lot of stuff here that's being drawn. Generally, stuff that's drawn first gets drawn first to the screen. So later in the method, as stuff gets drawn, it gets layered on top of it. So our background is going to be one of the first things drawn. Text is different. Text is actually rendered to a target later on. It's added to a list of string objects. We have these things. These things are on the left, the current platform. Here's the controls on the left. Here's the game controls. Here's Switchblade himself. If it's a boss level, it's showing some stuff. We can hide that. Combo level, it's showing stuff. Here it's showing the bonus time box and combo broken stuff. Here's all stuff about the timer bar. All this stuff about the timer bar. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a rank and time box showing you that. And then here's the menu sprite. This is the level end sequence. This is actually stuff from Blister Blight, which is still in here. The reason I haven't deleted it is out of negligence. It's never showing up. Same thing for, there's no enemies right now or enemy weapon fire. All this stuff could be deleted. Level warning end, where it's shaking the camera and stuff. And that's it. So we might say, well, where is it? Where is our backgrounds being drawn? And I think they're actually not a hood object. I think they are just images, which means, oh, that actually makes it a little harder because they're saved as part of the object of the level. Not sure. And I need to take a look at our sprite sheet. So I'm going to open up sprite sheets. Oh, geez. Oh, where did I put this stuff? It's been a little bit. I'm going to do it this way for now. Where are our sprite sheets? Which one would this be? Hood menu? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm rendering. Did I just paste these in? All right, so we can see this here. I'm gonna go back to the game. We go like that. And here in the game, I can turn on. All right, wait for it. Oh, the game's paused. I need to start the game again. There you go. I can turn on here. We have our little cheat sheet here, which is kind of hard to see. But there's different buttons you can press to toggle stuff. So you've seen information toggled before, like the invisible platforms. If I click N, this tells us the layers. This tells us what images are on screen. So here, it looks like FC3. So if I go in here and we go to art, and we're going to go all the way over here. Did I create a tile for this? No way. I don't remember putting in anything here. I think this is rendering in the adventure menu or something like that. That doesn't make sense. These are all art objects that could get saved to the level. I don't think we're doing this. I think I just don't know where it's rendering it right now. But for example, if I took like this rusted refrigerator. Hey, I got a rusted refrigerator, right? You can just click them and create them all a bunch. This is what you do when you're placing art in a level. We're not doing that right now, though. These have got to be rendering somewhere else. I'm going to do a thing where I'm just going to look for a coordinate in the code. And this will give me a hint of where it's located. 6512. So we're going to go back here. We're going to look for 65. Oh, there it is. In a clear background. Where is this being drawn? Draw behind all objects. Oh, it's a different method that I created so that it would draw behind all the objects. Excellent. And it's drawing this shade. So where is this being run? If we go to find all references. it's done in the core level class. So what this is doing is it's calling the hood to call this method draw behind all objects in order to draw our backgrounds on the screen. I didn't remember I did that. So let's see what happens when we comment that guy out. So we're going to put a little comment here. To do uncomment after done taking screenshots for level icons. I'm going to save that and say continue. Oh my. Let's see here. That looks different. Whoa. So that had both the background and it had the, what's it called? You know, the other background. Now by default, you can see that the background color is black. You can actually choose what background color you have back here. You can make it any color. So if nothing's rendered to the screen, we'll just do a color, which right now is black. Black is fantastic. We could do a color that would be easier to do a find, select, and delete because we want this to be opacity. So for example, if I take a screenshot right now, this will be black. And if I say I was going to delete the everything that was black, so this could be have an opacity to it or be blank. So when we shrink these down and stuff and put them in a level, it doesn't just look black. We might want to choose a different background color temporarily. Because say I go to the adventure menu here, I don't think I want the background of every one of these to be black. So we probably want to choose a very obscure, bright color so that when we select it in our GIMP, the art program, we can delete all that color at once. So we're going to do that too. Let's go ahead and change our background color here from black to something really specific and bright, like a pink or a, yeah, something very bright. So we can do that too. We're going to go to Visual Studio. That's also going to be rendered right here. Right above here, you can see graphics device, clear, black. So I'm going to say to do. Now granted, it doesn't really matter what background it is because that only ever shows if you're not rendering something on screen to overlay on top of it. But still. Change back to black when done. Now we can choose some color. All these colors are specific. There's like a color library. I'm gonna choose like a beautiful magenta. There is one just called magenta. Let's take a look. Whoa! Oh, baby. Woo! Looks like the game's broken. Yikes, that's hard to look at, huh? Everything really pops though, doesn't it? Blind! I'm blind. Oh, that's gonna be something to look at for a little while. Beautiful. It's perfect. Partly because if I take and click on this color, there will be nothing that is this bright color of magenta. I attempt to take a screenshot of this stuff. Beautiful. Look, you can even see it here and these little bricks and stuff. Because there is some amount of opacity as well. That might actually be problematic. I hadn't thought of that. Um, hmm. See, there's a little opacity in some of these animations. That's interesting. That is hard to look at. You know, maybe there's a well, it's gonna have to be something real bright. Maybe there's an obscure color that isn't so abhorrent. We just need to be specific. Let's choose something like I don't know, like a dark forest green. What greens do we have? What about dark sea green? That sounds nice. Oh, that feels like we're in a swamp. Now we're just swamping it out. A dark sea green. That's pleasant. In a swampy way. I think that'll be sufficient. This is a very clear color that I'm not using. We'll use that instead. That's better. We still do have this opacity that we'll have to deal with a little bit. But maybe it's fine. Well, we'll see. There might be some tweaks we need to make. But, so there we go. We're still going to need to hide the player, though. And that one's pretty easy to do. Go back to Visual Studio. And we're just going to go to the player class. And we'll go to its draw menu. There's a drop down here, which apparently doesn't want to show on stream. It's fine. And let's see where this is being called. So we can find all references. It's being called many places because this is showing all the places this override draw method is being called. I just want to know where the player is being drawn. You can draw in multiple areas. Now the good thing is that we're doing it before the game's even started. So I'm pretty sure this is where it's being drawn. The level begins sequence. So they're being drawn there. Let's see if we put a little breakpoint, is it being hit? It is. So this is what's being hit right now. This is where we are in the code. So if we pause this, and we can say, to do uncomment after level icons are done. I'm just going to comment that out. And then we go back. Bada bing! Look at that. A beautiful swampy sea green with bricks here. I'm wondering if there's going to be more problem. Let me find one with more big bricks. And nuclear. Yeah, see, a lot of these big bricks here, even the small bricks to a lesser extent, have opacity in their corners. So when I take these screenshots, everything's going to have a green tint in the corners. I did not realize that. If I go to the sprite sheet of the platforms, I'm not showing this on screen. I'm just going to take a quick look. That's interesting. It doesn't look like there's any opacity. Maybe when it's... I think the small bricks don't. But, when it's blown up, it's creating it's probably what's happening. When this is expanded to a greater size, it's being rendered, and when it's rendering in these corners, it's actually rendering some opacity to a place where it was normally there was nothing. Huh. Well, in that case, we might want to, instead of choosing any color, choose like a really dark gray, so that when this is shrunk down, there won't be any sense that you can see some sort of color. But it needs to be a distinct gray so that I can select it and delete all of it in one go. As long as we select a gray that's not used in any of our sprites and stuff, it should be fine. And I don't think we are using any of the particular colors here. We have our own, whatever it's called, color palette. For most of the stuff. Some of the stuff will need to be redesigned probably within palette that I've created. But all the platforms and things, the bricks, have palette. So let's choose a different color. Again. Choose a very dark gray. Something that's not black, but go over here. Was it here? No, it's here. Just gonna look for to-do. Up. We have a bunch of to-dos here in the project. Not all of them were for switchball. I like that green, but we're gonna do a gray here. Dark slate gray. How about that? Ooh, that's still blue. It's got some blue to it. I guess that is like slate, right? Like if you're thinking about outside, it has like that bluish tint to slate. Alright, I gotta choose a different one. You can look at that, have the magic come through. Dark gray. We'll just try dark gray. That's not very dark, is it? I expected much darker out of you. I'm disappointed in you. There's actually, well, there used to be a website that shows all these XNA color list. Right now we're just YOLOing colors. How's that dark gray? That's gray. That's, well, it's, if I just choose gray, how much lighter is gray? Gray is darker than dark gray. What's going on with my game? Am I rendering multiple colors at once? What's going on here? The gray actually might be okay. Try one more. Surely. That's really weird. Unless I'm overlapping colors, I'm unaware of it. But no, this would just be the... Nah. Let's see, what other darks do I have? Dark blue. Dark magenta. Dark violet. Nah. Blanched almond. That's too black. Blanched. Alright, we're going to try dark gray again. There's no way. I don't believe it. Surely it didn't render correctly. Okay. I don't have any idea. We're going to go with gray. Yo, tried and true. Good old gray. Good old gray. Good old pal. Good old color. There we go. That'll do. That'll do. Let's check out some of our other objects in here. I chose one. One of the only ones I forgot to, still haven't created. Yeah, you know. Has the blue... That's not a great example. Yeah, these will also have to be redesigned if we ever have more art. But again, we're trying to get the base in here. Sure, this looks okay. Mm-hmm. Look how simple the levels look when there's no border. Space horse. Beautiful. Okay. So we're hiding the things now. Good job, us. Go us. We're winning. Part 2. Let's take a screenshot of it. And that's sort of monkey work, but sort of not. Because we're going to need to put all these screenshots in a sprite sheet and know where in the sprite sheet to render the screenshots. But how would I take a couple and then get a sense of the images? And this is going to be tricky. How do I show this on stream? Let's just do the very first one. Why not? Look at that beautiful level. I have Snagit here. Which I could show. I wonder what this is what's going to show here. Also, I wonder if any of my flux will get in the way here. Let's try to share what Snagit's looking at a little bit. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to share Snagit. See what this looks like. Snagit. 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 All right, here's my Snagit editor. Let's see what happens when I go ahead and start trying to take a new capture. Oh boy. Just thinking. We're gonna do an image. All right, it freezes everything. I can't tell if anything's happening on stream when I do this. I think, so it freezes the whole screen so you can capture it at a moment in time. Which, because of that, I can't even see what's being rendered in stream. But say I capture a thing. We're just going to capture something just for funs right now. We'll just do this. We're not even going to be exact. You can see it showed up. Here it is. Here's our beautiful capture. Now, if we wanted to be precise in here, what we're going to need to do... Oh my gosh. What we're going to need to do is know exactly what the point was in the top left corner at the bottom left, bottom right corner. So we're going to need to bring back our background so that we can identify a consistent width and height that we're going to be taking screenshots from. So let's go ahead and hide Snaggo. Snaggo my ego. And unhide the background so we can get a coordinate. Actually, how am I going to get the coordinate? Oh boy. I can get the coordinate because I can see where it's located. Wait, the coordinate though is going to be different than... it's going to be some trial and error. Classic. So we're going back to the core level. Hood, draw behind all objects. Let's go to the hood. And I believe it's this. The current background shade is what it's called. It's drawn at location 11280. I believe. I'm gonna find where this is located. It's updating the shade. Yep. So it's the default one. Because the little bars change colors. That's also another sign of what color you currently are. It's subtle. It's in hood menu 416. I'm going to take a look at this. Over here. Right. Okay. So we do just need to know where it's located, which is 112 pixels over and 80 down. So can I take a screenshot with Snaggo? If that is that precise. Let's see. So we do capture. And we are going to do a region. I wonder if advanced, can I do... No. What's up, Articuno? Welcome to the stream. Currently we're using Snagit in order to try to take screenshots at a specific location. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting stuff. Let's see here. If I click capture, unfortunately, I should be able to have a certain region rather than doing it dynamically. Where's that? Open editor. So this guy right here is called Snagit. I'll make it a little bigger. Whee! This is a screenshot editor and tool. This is a very nice screenshot editor that I've used for a long time. What we're trying to do is create level icons. The level icons are going to be located in the adventure menu right here. So we were trying to create an icon of each level. In order to do that, lyrics in my music. No. In order to do that, we're going to take screenshots of each level. The reason I have a one color background, I remove the background so we could take screenshots of just the objects and have little snapshots that we're going to eventually put in there. I have the coordinates of where I am going to get the screenshot of. And in Snagit, normally there's a way to define what the region is in order to, instead of doing it freehand. And I'm struggling to find that right now. What if I do... Oh, fixed region. There we go. Fixed region. We're going to set the position. Found it. It is 112.80. So 112.80. I don't know what the height and width are right now. Well, we can look back at the Visual Studio here. Let me show that. Take luck. Good luck. Yes. Thank you. Right here, 416, 256. Let's see if the pixels in my render target, though, actually might be different than what's being rendered on screen. So let's do a 416 by 256. Just see what happens in Snagit. So we're going to go here. We're going to do a 416 by 256. Beautiful. And let's see what happens when I capture this. That's not quite right, huh? That's what I captured. That makes sense. And the reason why it makes sense is because there's a render target that this is being drawn to. So I actually have a 1980 by whatever monitor. And the render target in the game is drawing to... It's basically taking a smaller image and drawing it full screen. It's kind of blowing up an image, if you can think of like a projector. Is what the game is doing. So that's not right. What I just did, obviously. What was great is I just clicked it and it did it. I didn't have to do anything. It was just like, bop. How are we going to figure out where this is actually located? Maybe we don't need it precise. No, I do need it precise. I could do a ratio. Here, I'll show where the render targets are located. Let's see here. Hide Snagit. Bring back this. So if we go to the game class, top, I'll look for render target. Render targets. So we have a few different render targets here. We're dealing with, I believe, the hood render target. No, level render target. There's a hood render target and there's a level render target. But each of these are much smaller. You can see this is a 400 by 240. This is a 640 by 360. But the full, whoops, didn't mean to scroll. The full dimensions of the screen are way bigger, of course. So these targets will adapt to whatever your screen size is as they're being drawn to the screen. And all of the images on the screen are kind of being condensed and fused into a render target, which is then drawn to the screen as part of Monogame. And it's similar to how other engines work, is when you're drawing sprites to the screen. But every engine does a little different. In any case, when we were choosing to select a certain spot on my screen, of course, was looking at how, if we go back to our hood class, which was over here, I was saying, oh, it's being drawn 112 pixels over and 80 down. So it's being drawn somewhere here. However, that was to this smaller render target, which is then being blown up. And of course, Snagit is looking at my computer screen. It's not looking at the render target. So either I do trial and error, or we try to do some sort of ratio. Let's try to do the ratio first. See if we can get something close. So we're going to go back to the Game 1 class. And I think the hood render target is being used 400 by 240. I think. Is it? If we go to core level class. It's being drawn here. Sprite, but which one is being used here? Go to the bottom. It's at the very bottom. Here we go. Level render target. I think I am encapsulating the hood render target to the level render target right now. So it's 643.60. It looks very complicated. Welcome to game development. Ain't simple. All right, I'll do a little calculator action here. Calculator. Uh, 1980 divided by 640. 1980. I'm assuming I have a 1980 by... I should probably look to see what my monitor is currently doing. What am I using? I'm doing it on this... I'm going to do... hopefully this doesn't mess everything up. I think it will. If you don't see anything for a second, just deal with it. Display settings. I'm trying to see what my monitor is. Yeah, I'm at 1920 by 1080. All right, 1920 by 1080. How much text even is that? That is one of the biggest classes in the game. A lot of it is not actually for this game. This game was built off of a previous action platformer that I was working on. And I just didn't clean up a ton of stuff that's not being used. It's kind of dead code. It's not relevant. But yeah. Oh yeah. So the game he actually is from, his sprite was from the previous game. The action platform is called Blister Blight, which is the first game I've developed. I got to the point of a demo and a failed Kickstarter. And his name's Switchblight, and he's kind of the main antagonist, protagonist of this arcade game. So right now it's just a, idle animation. Eventually Switchblight is going to have some fun animations of when like combos go off and stuff in the game. And Blister Blight itself was a game that was inspired by Mega Man and some other games. There's actually a demo on Steam that's, I think, still free that you can play if you're curious. Anyway, 1920 divided by, I said 640. 3. That's convenient. It's almost like I did that on purpose. So let's just change the dimensions by 3. Or no, we multiply it by 3. So if I go to here, switch Blight. So, not Blade, Blight. So in the original game, Blister Blight, these blights were kind of like the robot masters in a Mega Man game. It's like the quickest equivalent. And each of them had control over a different part of society. So Switch Blight, his control was over like power plants and energy. You had other blights like Judge Blight, who was in control of the judicial system. You had Frack Blight, who was in control of like fracking and energy creation. Switch Blight was all about like the power grid and controlling that kind of stuff. And this action arcade game is called Switchball Deluxe because the make him look like an ice type. Yeah. This whole game's theme is that you're in different factories and different you're going through like different types of power plants is the theme. And Switchblade is kind of the overseer of it all as you're playing. So I'll show the game in a second because I don't think you've seen it in action. But we're going to test this one time. I want to get this right. Where is the number that I had put in? We're going to multiply it by 3. It was in the hood. 112.80. So multiply that by 3. That's 336 by 240. So I'm going to go into snag it. And I'll change the fixed region to 336 by 240. And then we'll change the size also to 3 times that, which is 1248 by, what is that? What's 256 times 3? 256 times 3 is 750, 768. Brilliant. All right, now we're going to show snag it again. There we are. Oh, I guess it's not showing. There you go. And now when I click capture, let's see if it actually captures the right thing. Bop. Oh, that's not too bad. I think that's correct. Let's select a different level to see if this is right. So something that has like a lot of junk in it. We're going to go to the final world. Here. So our level is here in the middle, this whole thing. So this has good edges too. I mean, this is a really good level to test off of. So if I just click the button, bam. And here it is, right? There it is. That's pretty good. We did it. Math. Math. Beautiful. So now all I can do is I just have to click a button and snag it, and boom, there's the level. In fact, this is including a border around the edge, which is kind of what we want, right? Because if we're going back to the adventure menu, we want there to be a little bit of space to line it up. So this might actually be perfect. If I line it up here, I could probably make that work. Yeah, congrats. It's time for congrats. All right, let me show the game a little bit because I don't think Articuno, you've seen it. And for anybody else who's going through here, you got to show the game a little bit in every dev session. So let's go ahead and redraw a couple elements that we're drawing now that I have snag it tuned. We're going to go back to our level. find our to-dos. It doesn't matter. Gonna uncomment that. And uncomment that. All right, I think we're good now. All right, so we'll go into one of the first levels here. Just do this one that we looked at. So there we go, we got our background again. So this is all about completing levels quickly. The timer bar is actually a little bit messed up for this level. Let's skip to the next one. So the goal is you're this ball bouncing around. You're actually one of Switch balls. He has two little balls on his shoulders, which are kind of his helpers. And there's going to be, again, more animations that kind of show that. And you're trying to complete and destroy all the bricks in a level in a short period of time. So you can see a level has a certain length. We got D rank. The goal is to get high ranks. These first levels are introducing you to the mechanics of the game. So that was a speed level. If we move forward a little bit, they get a little bit more complicated. So Switch Ball, one of the big things about Switch Blight, the character in the game, is that you're constantly switching colors. That's kind of the main mechanic of the game. So here, I'm green, and I can hit the green bricks. When I'm orange, I can hit the orange bricks. And at any point in time, you can hold down a button to turn on turbo to go faster, or to go slower, where the ball is always bouncing up and down. It's always moving. So that's B. That was okay. If we go to a later level, they get even more complicated. You might even have 3 colors, like this one. Now the first world is fossil fuels. You can see there's a little background there. It might have animated backgrounds. Might be static. B is for best rank. Yes. And you can see it gets complicated. Now, say I broke a combo. You can see as I do more combos, if you've played something like Bomberman, that's kind of where this T-shaped explosion comes in. You want to maintain that because you can destroy way more bricks. Now, say if I hit this, now I lose my combo, and now we're back to starting a new combo up again. So it's a speed game where you're navigating, and that's where like the platforming-esque element comes in. And it's a puzzle too, to be like, well, how do I beat these levels quickly? One, if you're still just starting the game, it might even be hard just to beat the level at all within the time period allotted. And then also, as you play through the game, you're going to be trying to shoot for S rank, because it's also at its heart, I want the game to be a little bit like speedrunning, where you're trying to get the best rank, an arcadey feel to it. Now, every world also has its own gimmicks and features, whatever you want to call them. So windmills is when now you can start moving left to right. So you can see there's a control panel here. I'm actually going to pause the game on the left. And you can see that now we're moving up, down. So instead of pressing left, right on the controls, I'm pressing up, down in order to move him around. And the arrows show where the ball's going to go, so you can see it's left, right, and then up, down. And that's windmills. It's adding a rotation element to it so that the controls can actually rotate in order to complete the level. That's windmills. Then as we move forward, this is all spoilers, but who cares? It's not a big deal. It's not a game about spoilers. You have solar, so The next worlds are solar, then you have hydropower, nuclear, biofuels, geothermal, and then we get into the sci-fi of antimatter and wormholes. And finally Omega, which is like a culmination of everything. And as you play the adventure mode, you're unlocking levels as you go along. So this is going to be both on Steam and phones. Steam might work a little bit different than phones in terms of, like for Steam, there's not going to be like, hey, buy the first world for 99 cents. And if you like the game, you know, Steam, it'll just, you get the whole thing. You get the whole package. There's not going to be any like upsell or something like that. There's no Pikmin in this one now. This Quaz gets to do it all by himself. But yeah, each of these worlds introduces a new mechanic and continues building off of previous mechanics. So like solar involves light. So for example, icicles here, as you hit each of these colors, it lights it up. So the lights, when they hit the right colors, destroy all the blocks of that color. Where nuclear, 5 ones down, all of a sudden you have giant blocks. And as the giant blocks explode, oops, you get even bigger combos. So here, you get one more. Oh my gosh. And you get really big explosions like that. That's the idea. Is right now I'm going for a collage aesthetic where I'm having realistic backgrounds in the background, and I'm gonna have pixel art in the foreground. We're testing it out. That'll be part of player feedback as they play through the game, whether it's distracting, whether they like the collage aesthetic. Right now, you can see that these are just literally stolen. These are just temporary, just screenshots from iStock. Credit to Artouche. Whenever we have actual sprites in the game, either I'm going to pay for stock images, or I might even take images myself, or we might even have realistic video playing in the background too. Some games that are like puzzle games have really distracting backgrounds, and I'm not a big fan of that. But because like I want you to be able to focus on what's in front of me and not have some distracting like looped video in the background. But it is something that's in process. I think if I have some really pretty and like background stuff, I think it's kind of fun to have this collage aesthetic in the game, rather than have some sort of cartoony or even drawn background, which, you know, might be pretty in its own right. But yeah. So that's the game. I'm not going to go through all the levels right now, but if you look through on YouTube, there's lots and lots of level testing if you're curious. My music stopped. I got done the acoustic chill channel. Let's just put in some other music. Yeah. Go for this. So now we can take screenshots. We can take screenshots at a specific location for every point in the level. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'll do that off stream. I think the thing I want to do for the next 20 or 30 minutes here is we actually need in the code, actually just going to quit. Where are we going to store these sprites? So at the beginning of the stream, I chatted about needing to enhance the level attributes class. So that's what we're going to do now. So let's go to the level attributes class, which is actually located in the constants class right here. So Now each level attribute is going to need its own sprite icon, so it can be drawn on the menu. So we can just add that right here as part of the attributes. I don't think it's going to be animated, so we'll just create a sprite. We also have its song, so why don't we just do it right here? We'll just add a public sprite. We'll call it level icon. And we're going to need to instantiate this sprite for each level icon. I keep doing my thing. Thanks, Articuno. Will do. So what we're going to do is instantiate that. So first, whenever level attributes are created, these are instantiated in our constants class. And I don't think anywhere else level attributes are being created. So we are going to need to have a method here that is populating the sprite for each constant. And while we're at it, we probably want to clean up our constants because we are no longer using, these are points. So each of these, we used to have, when I was first making the game, points that you would try to earn. And I threw away that idea and said, no, we're just doing time. We're not going to have some arbitrary or designed X amount of time is X amount of points. I was like, no, just make it time. So we might clean up and just remove all of these other things too while we're at it to clean up the constants. Take a little bit of refactoring. So we'll see. In the meantime, though, let's just create a method to do this. So here we have each of these rows is a lot of information about level attributes. And we're creating a static dictionary where we have an integer, which is tied to the level ID, with our level attributes here. So here is the stuff we can get rid of. I even have a commented out line here. Because I think I was just testing. Yeah, I was just testing something. So we can just put back, I don't know, whatever the time was. I think it was 30. So where are we going to instantiate these sprites? So say I was going to add in level attributes the sprites. So let's put it at the end for right now. And we're going to say a sprite. Actually, can I do a sprite? I think I can do a sprite here. Or do I populate all the sprites after the fact? These are a static list, though. If it's static, its storedness needs to exist. I think this will work. We'll try this out. Let's give it a go. We'll just call this icon sprite, a level icon. And why isn't it like that? We're gonna do level icon equals level icon. Identifier expected. this an actual error? No, I don't know. No, it shouldn't be. The big problem is that I added something to a list, and now for every single one of these, it's expecting a sprite. That's problematic. So until we figure this out, I will have broken the game. We also duplicated our list yesterday because part of what we're working on the game is reordering all the levels so that there's a natural order of complexity and introducing game mechanics. So what if I just did this right here? Man, this... Why is the game chugging right now? It's taking forever for the IntelliSense to kick in. There is no argument that gives the required format of... Yes, there is. We're gonna do a little Control-Shift-B. Yeah, it's taking forever for the IntelliSense to work. Like, literally forever. Why? Why? Just break already. We're gonna restart Visual Studio. We're in this. We're in a little closeout. We're gonna restart it. Oh, the blank screen of death. I do not know why. It's freaking out. All right, so that's fine now. And this is fine. Okay. So if I did a new sprite like this, that would solve my issue. But we're gonna have to change that. But I think what we can do now to at least get rid of the red squigglies is we're going to do a little find and replace for this. Control H. Control H. What do you mean there's no Control F? What is Control? How's Control Find not working? What happened? Control Find. Why are my keyboard controls not working? It's going gadong. You hear it, right? Do you hear it? I don't know if you hear the noise. The Windows noise, probably not. Now it's working. Oh my gosh, what's going on with my computer? I'm doing a Control-Shift-Escape here. What is running so fast? So much juice. Is my computer trying to do like a Windows update? It is going right now. I don't know. We'll just run with it. It's fine. It's slow right now. It's all fine. I'm gonna do one of these. And what we want to do is replace that with this. That. Bada bing. Haha, so clever. Beautiful. So that got rid of our red squigglies because now we have our new sprite here. We instantiated it, and we'll ignore any red dots. This last one didn't get it because reasons. So instead of actually just having a blank sprite, we're going to need to know what sprite we want based off of the ID. So we're going to probably have to create a method to populate the sprite. And this level icon will need to be depending on where we are in a sprite sheet. So right now we're just going to create the method and then not really worry about where it is in the sprite sheet, but just have a method for populating a sprite. And this is freaking out, but it's not really an error. It says expected. You're expecting nothing. It's perfect. Look at every other one's exactly the same. So annoying. Yeah. What, do you want a comma? No, just angry. So let's go ahead and create a method. Let's create it in our constants class here. And because this is a constants class, I think everything in here needs to be... Can I just have a method in here? We'll try it. We're going to do a public void. Now when we're calling a constant, we're probably in that moment calling static. I'm just going to do populate. Let's call it populate level icon. And we're going to pass in C# extract class refactoring provider encountered an error. There's something going on in Visual Studio right now where it's angry. Huh. No idea what it is. Worry about that later. But we're going to do this one, and we're going to pass in the level ID. So let's go int level ID. And we probably want to return a sprite. So instead of a void, we're going to call this a public sprite. Populate level icon. So for now, we're just going to say return new sprite temporarily. So how's this going to work? Well, this needs to be a static method. Oh, is this not within the constants class? Fine. We'll do it here in level attributes, public level attributes, not in constants. Yeah, this is where I want it to be anyway. In fact, here, instead of having a level attribute and passing in a sprite, perhaps we could pass in the level ID instead. And then the level icon could do this. It could say, hey, populate level icon, and we could just pass in. In fact, we don't even need this sprite. We could just pass in RD. Like that. That's probably better. Yeah. And then we could undo everything I just did. That's better. That's real better. Let's get rid of this. That's what we want to do. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and delete all this stuff. Just kidding. Cool. What are you angry about? He doesn't know. Let's ignore Visual Studio for right now. It's crying. It's weeping. So our level IDs. I gotta make this up a little bit so you can see it. So our level IDs are from 1 through 160. So if we have a sprite sheet, we're going to have some amount of X and Y coordinate where the sprite is being pulled from the sheet. So if we go to somewhere else where sprites are being loaded, I don't know, let's go to the hood. And scroll down, zoom, 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 zoomy, 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 zoomy. This is what it looks like when a sprite is being populated. So we're just gonna go like this. So you set the sprite values for a given sprite, that's what this is. You're specifying where it's located, the height and the width, and which sprite sheet you are referring to. So I'm not sure which sprite sheet we're going to use right now. But we're going to need to specify where it is in the sheet, and then the height and the width. The height and the width of these sprites are all going to be identical. Just where in the sheet is where we're going to need to adapt, based off of this level ID. So we're going to say our var new level icon equals new sprite. And we're just going to return that. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the width and the height is going to be. So we're just going to set it to something like 100. I didn't mean to delete all that. And right now, it might be in the hood. It might be somewhere else. But we're going to say new level icon. Set sprite values. The values that we had for the full screen one, which is probably not what it's going to be, but for the screenshot that we took, were 1248 by 768. It'll be in no way that big. So we probably want to shrink it down to the division by 3, which we were looking at in our hood class. Was it the hood class? Yeah. So if we look for this guy, it was a 416 by 256. So if we said, oh, each one of these is going to be 416 by 256. Where is it going to be located? In the sprite sheet. And this is where the level IDs come from. And this is how they're going to be used. So say we were going to say, I don't know, just for example, the minimum width, if it was 416, between each sprite in the sheet is the width of the sprite. So in that case, this would be 416. And the minimum height is equal to 256. So depending on how many sprites we want to stack in the sprite sheet, left to right, their minimum width between those would be the width of our sprite. Same for how many we want to stack vertically if we're going to start like a new row. Now in my mind, it might make sense because we have 10 worlds and 16 levels per world. We could do something where it's easy to see them all in the sprite sheet, and you could just have 16 across and 10 rows. So if we wanted to do something like that, where in a sprite sheet we had 16 icons across, one row for each world, then this is how we could do it. We could say, hey, our level ID is 1 through 160, and we would just need to find a calculation for that. So say we were going to say our level 1 is equal to 416, or is equal to 0, 0. Let's just say we had a brand new sprite sheet. Then level 2 is going to be equal to 416, 256. And then level 3 is going to be 832, 512. And they'll just keep stacking that way. Once we get to level 17, which will be the next row, that one is going to be 0. Actually, that's going to be 0, 256. Because row 1 is all going to be at a height of 0. They're going to be aligned like that. Row 2 is going to be 256 lower. So then you have level 18 is equal to 416, 256. And you have dot, dot, dot. You have level 33. And that's going to be 0, 512. So you can kind of see the grid. And as we keep moving down every 16, we're going to be multiplying the height. And then each level and turn to the right, we're going to be multiplying the width. So we're probably going to need to do some sort of remainder function where we're going to divide something by 16, see what the remainder is, and that's going to tell us by how much we are going to multiply the width or the height by to get the coordinate in our system. We're actually doing something similar in the adventure menu when we are moving between icons, when you're selecting the level, in order to know, hey, when you're at level 16, you press left or right and you're flipping to the start of the list. Or when you're going between worlds, you kind of have to set up a grid and say, hey, what happens when I click up, down, left, right, when I get to these edge cases. So what we're going to do is we're going to say our var remainder is equal to our level ID by 16. This is a remainder function. So when you're using this percentage sign, it's going to give you the remainder. So if I did the remainder of, say, 1 divided by 16, what is the remainder? 16. Or it's, wait. That's not quite right. If I pass in 1, I want the remainder to be 1. I pass in 17. Wait a sec, we're almost there. Nice. So I want it to be 0, 0 for level 1. Level 2. We're almost there. But it's past 1 o'clock. And I gotta end the stream. We're gonna leave this as a puzzle for you, for anyone who gets to this point. This is also a classic thing where if I wanted to use AI or some other tool, I could look up how to do this, right? I'd say, oh, I'm passing in a level ID. This is what I want to do. And it would probably spit out a solution. But part of what is fun about programming and problem solving, try to figure out on your own. This is something that my mind's a little fuzzy right now. But in general, what we're trying to do is saying, hey, for a given level ID, I want to know how many spaces to the right and down we need to move in the grid in order to be able to assign the proper location in the grid, depending on these two variables, which could be anything. So it's kind of like for a given width and height of Y and a given level ID where every row is 16 wide, and you're passing in the position in that grid, what is your position that you need to set the sprite to in terms of X and Y? So it's a fun little puzzle. My mind's not all there. I've kind of lost it. I'm lost in the sauce. Well, we're going to end it there. I'll figure this out either on stream or on my own. But that's what we did today. We did some planning. We were looking at different parts of how we're going to create level icons for the main menu, which is important because as you're selecting the adventure menu, when you're selecting levels, you want to give it a little snapshot, an idea of what it is. And that's good. I think we have a good pieces in place, even though it's not all together yet. But I'm going to end it there for today. Thanks for all tuned in today. And we're tuning in later on Twitch and YouTube. Friday Kudo hanging out and chatting for a little bit. Next week, we're going to be doing another Ocarina of Time randomizer. I'm not sure how crazy the rando will be, whether I'm going to do no logic, some glitched logic, whether I want it to be a longer one, a shorter one. We'll see. I'm going to think about it a little bit over the weekend. But I've done a bunch of those. I've done maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5. And of course, a lot of my shorts have been about that stuff because it was a thing I was doing a lot. But we'll have other types of shorts, of course, coming out soon too, and other viddies. So with all that, as always, love you guys. Jesus loves you too. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Peace.